My beloved child, there is something very unusual about the silence connected to your name right now. And if you listen carefully, you may begin to understand why this season carries more importance than you realize. Someone you care deeply about has been standing in a place filled with emotions, reflection, questions, and uncertainty. Beside that person are two voices, two viewpoints, two different opinions, two people who see you through completely different lenses. One speaks with certainty, the other speaks with caution, and what they have been saying has created a quiet tension that has not yet reached your ears, but it is already shaping what happens next. Stay with me because something important is unfolding. Every part of this matters more than it first appears. There are conversations happening when you are not present. What makes this so unusual is that your name enters those conversations carrying unexpected significance. It is not spoken casually. It is not mentioned without thought. Every word connected to you seems carefully measured, as if each sentence must be considered before it is spoken aloud. One friend believes there is something rare about you, something difficult to explain yet impossible to ignore. They notice things that many people overlook, the quiet strength you carry, the way you continue moving forward after setbacks, the way your presence lingers in people's minds long after you have gone. But the second friend sees things differently. Their voice carries concern, not because they dislike you, but because they understand how powerful your influence can be. They believe being close to you changes things quickly. They believe emotions become deeper. They believe choices become harder once your name settles fully inside someone's heart. And that is why the discussion has become so intense. These are not shallow observations. These are convictions formed through memories, experiences, and moments you may never have realized were being noticed. Keep listening, because the deeper truth is only beginning to reveal itself. What makes this even more powerful is that the person you love has not rejected either opinion. They have listened carefully to both sides. Every sentence has reached them in a way they did not expect. Every viewpoint has created another question inside their heart. They hear admiration from one direction and hesitation from the other. Somewhere between those voices they are trying to understand what they truly feel. Not long ago there was a moment when your name appeared unexpectedly and everything shifted. The atmosphere changed. The room felt different. A pause entered the conversation. A glance was exchanged. One friend leaned forward and quietly said that your heart is far deeper than most people realize. They said you carry many things silently, and that your quiet nature often communicates more than words ever could. The other friend replied that such depth can be challenging, because not everyone knows how to understand someone who feels so much, while revealing so little. Yet even then, your name remained at the center of everything. And that is where things became impossible to ignore. The person you love began remembering moments connected to you that they had never fully explained to anyone. A simple sentence you once spoke, a look that lasted slightly longer than expected, a moment that seemed ordinary to everyone else but unforgettable to them. Those memories resurfaced while the conversation continued. Suddenly every opinion carried greater weight. One friend insisted that your presence feels safe and genuine. The other argued that your presence creates change, and that change can be frightening. One believes you remain authentic, even when misunderstood. The other believes people like you are impossible to forget, and that forgetting someone like you creates complications no one is prepared for. And as those words continued, the person you love grew quieter, much quieter. Because hidden inside that silence was a question they could not escape. Why does your name still affect everything? Something important happened after that. Recently, a small detail changed the way they see you. Maybe it was your patience, maybe it was your distance, maybe it was the way you refused to seek attention when others would have tried much harder. Whatever it was, it revealed something neither friend could ignore. Your value is not loud. It does not demand recognition. It reveals itself slowly, and once people see it, it becomes difficult to look away. That is why one friend became firm and said losing a connection with you would be a mistake. The other answered carefully, saying that closeness to you may awaken emotions that are difficult to control. Think about that for a moment. Two people studying the same situation, two people watching the same person, two people reaching powerful conclusions, yet each arrives there from a completely different direction. That alone says something remarkable. The person you love has now started comparing every opinion they hear with what they personally know about you. And there is one thing they can no longer deny. Every time they try to place you into an ordinary category, something stops them, something refuses to let you become simple in their mind. There is mystery in your timing, mystery in your silence, mystery in the way certain parts of your character become clearer only after distance appears. This is why these conversations continue. One friend believes people misunderstand you because they only notice the surface. The other believes anyone who gets close enough eventually discovers that your emotional impact is far stronger than expected. And because of these opinions, the person you love is revisiting moments they nearly ignored in the past. Stay until the end, because the most revealing part is still ahead. Then came the sentence that changed everything. During the discussion, one friend quietly asked, "If this person means so little, then why do you become silent every time their name is mentioned?" No answer came, not immediately, and that silence became the answer everyone noticed. Suddenly the conversation was no longer about theories or opinions. It became about something hidden beneath uncertainty. The person you love looked away, but inside, memories had already begun speaking louder than the voices around them. Certain moments returned with surprising clarity. Certain feelings became impossible to dismiss. Both friends realized there was more inside that heart than had ever been admitted openly. That is why your name continues to remain in that space. That is why the opinions have become stronger, and that is why what comes next may surprise more people than anyone expects. Sometimes two different voices do not create confusion. Sometimes they expose what someone has been trying hardest not to acknowledge. But what happened after that silence revealed even more. The person you love did not rush to explain you. They did not defend you. They did not change the subject. Instead, there was a pause that lasted much longer than expected. Inside that pause was something real, something genuine, something that had been resting quietly in their heart for far longer than anyone knew. One friend leaned closer and spoke with unusual confidence. They said, "Your presence carries a memory that refuses to fade." They explained that even when time passes and life becomes busy, certain people remain impossible to place completely behind you. Somehow your name continues returning when no one expects it. Not because someone forces those memories to return, but because they never truly left in the first place. And this is where everything becomes even more interesting. The second friend, who had spent so much time speaking cautiously, did not disagree. Instead, they became thoughtful. They admitted that there are certain connections that do not follow ordinary rules, connections that continue influencing thoughts long after people try to move forward, connections that remain alive in unexpected moments. A familiar song, a quiet evening, a passing memory, a random conversation. Somehow your name keeps appearing. The person you love listened to every word. They said very little, but inside, something was changing. They began realizing that the effort required to ignore their feelings was becoming greater than the effort required to face them. And that realization can change everything. Because there comes a point when avoiding the truth becomes more exhausting than accepting it. That point may be closer than anyone realizes. For now, much remains unspoken. Much remains hidden beneath silence. But silence does not always mean absence. Sometimes silence is simply the space where understanding is growing. Sometimes silence is where emotions gather strength before they finally reveal themselves. And sometimes silence exists because a heart already knows the answer, but is still gathering the courage to admit it. So pay attention to what happens next. Watch carefully, remain patient, because beneath these conversations, beneath these opinions, beneath every pause and every thoughtful glance, something important is moving quietly toward the surface. And when it finally emerges, many things that once seemed confusing may suddenly make perfect sense. The person you love heard those words and became even quieter because they matched something that was already hidden deep inside their heart. It was not new information. It was something they had felt before but never fully admitted, even to themselves. The second friend responded in a different way. Their voice carried thoughtfulness and caution. They said, "Your quiet nature causes people to underestimate how deeply you affect situations around you." According to their view, you do not always need attention. You do not always need to be the loudest voice in the room. Yet somehow your absence becomes noticeable the moment you are gone. People feel the difference. They sense the space you leave behind. And that is exactly what has created such strong thoughts around you. Not what you try to make people feel, but what remains after you leave. Not what you demand from others, but what they continue remembering long afterward. Stay until the end, because the next detail changed everything in a way nobody expected. A memory suddenly surfaced during that discussion. One small moment connected to you that neither friend had forgotten. At the time it may have seemed ordinary, it may have appeared insignificant, yet now it returned with surprising strength. A simple sentence you once spoke honestly, a reaction you gave without trying to impress anyone, a moment when your sincerity appeared naturally and effortlessly. Suddenly that memory became evidence, proof that there is more to you than most people understand when they first meet you. And as that memory returned, the entire atmosphere shifted. The conversation became more serious, the opinions became stronger, the observations became harder to ignore. One friend quietly said, "Your heart seems loyal even when circumstances become uncertain." The other replied, "That kind of loyalty creates powerful attachment because people rarely experience it and often do not know how to respond when they finally encounter it." The person you love listened carefully to both opinions. Yet something important happened during that moment. Instead of resisting those words, they slowly began agreeing with parts of them, not openly, not directly, but inside, deep inside. They started recognizing truths they had never fully admitted before. Stay with me, because something important is unfolding. After that, your name was mentioned once again, but this time there was emotion attached to it. Real emotion. There was no laughter, no distraction, no attempt to change the subject, only seriousness. One friend asked whether they had ever noticed how differently they speak when talking about you compared to everyone else. That question landed deeply. The truth could no longer be avoided. Even the smallest details connected to you receive unusual attention. Tiny moments become unforgettable. Simple interactions gain meaning long after they happen. Ordinary memories refuse to remain ordinary. And that is exactly why those two friends now hold such powerful opinions. They have watched the effect your name creates. They have seen how the atmosphere changes. One believes this connection deserves to be understood before it is dismissed. The other believes dismissing it may no longer be possible. And now the person you love is beginning to realize that both opinions may simply be different reflections of the same hidden truth. Stay until the end because something hidden is beginning to rise to the surface. There is also something you may not know. Recently, your name appeared unexpectedly during another conversation. Nobody planned it, nobody prepared for it, yet the reaction was immediate. The same pause happened again, the same silence returned. The kind of silence that cannot be forced or performed. The kind that appears naturally when something matters more than people want to admit. Because when someone means very little, the heart remains calm, the mind remains ordinary, nothing changes. But when someone means much more, silence begins speaking louder than words. That silence appeared once again, and both friends noticed it immediately. They exchanged a glance, they paid attention, because they understood that something about you continues reaching places that logic alone cannot fully explain. One friend believes this means your importance is growing stronger with time. The other believes the emotions involved have already gone much deeper than anyone wants to admit. Think about that for a moment. Neither opinion dismisses you. Neither opinion reduces your significance. Both point toward the same conclusion from different directions. And that realization has made everyone involved pay closer attention than before. Stay with me, because the strongest moment had not happened yet. The most revealing part was still waiting, and when it arrived, it changed the entire direction of the conversation. One of those friends finally asked a question that stopped everything. Their voice was calm, their words were simple, yet the impact was immediate. They asked, "If there is truly nothing special here, then why does your expression change every time the future is mentioned with that person?" No quick answer came. No easy explanation followed. There was only thought, reflection, silence, that same silence that keeps revealing more than words ever could. And inside that silence, memories returned once again. Moments when your kindness stood out unexpectedly. Moments when your patience became impossible to ignore. Moments when your absence felt longer than it should have. Moments when your presence brought comfort without effort. Those memories appeared one after another, quietly, powerfully, uninvited. And that is why the opinions remain strong. That is why your name continues carrying weight. That is why the person you love has started questioning things they once tried to keep simple. Because sometimes outside voices do not create confusion. Sometimes they reveal what the heart has been whispering all along. Sometimes they expose feelings that have been hiding beneath uncertainty for far longer than anyone realizes. Do not skip because something huge is waiting for you. The conversation has not truly ended. In many ways it has only made everything stronger. Now every new moment connected to you receives more attention than before. Every small sign matters, every tone matters, every unexpected memory matters, and nobody involved can ignore that reality anymore. The most surprising part is this. One of those friends now believes a moment is approaching when everything hidden will become difficult to hide any longer. Not because anyone forces it, not because anyone demands it, but because truth eventually becomes stronger than hesitation. There comes a point when feelings become too visible to deny, a point when silence can no longer carry the entire weight of what is being felt. And according to that friend, that moment may be closer than anyone realizes. When it arrives, the person you love may finally understand why these two different opinions about you have remained impossible to ignore. But something even more unexpected is happening now. Those opinions are beginning to shape the way your name is heard when you are not around. The person you love no longer hears your name as something ordinary. Every mention feels different. Every conversation seems to carry extra meaning. It is as though your name arrives with a message hidden beneath the surface. Stay until the end because the next part reveals even more. One of those friends recently returned to the subject again, even though nobody intended to discuss it. That alone was unusual. Out of countless possible topics, your name appeared naturally once more, almost as though unfinished thoughts refused to remain silent. The first friend spoke confidently and said, "There is something rare about people who leave a feeling of peace behind them even after they leave a room." According to that friend, you do exactly that. Your presence does not disappear when you walk away. It remains. It lingers. It stays inside people's thoughts longer than expected. And that effect cannot be created artificially. It happens naturally. It happens because of who you are. The second friend responded thoughtfully. They said, "What makes you different is not only what people notice immediately, it is what they gradually discover over time." According to their view, your greatest qualities are often hidden beneath the surface. They are not obvious at first glance. They reveal themselves slowly, one layer at a time. And because of that, people's opinions about you tend to grow stronger rather than weaker. The more they understand, the more they notice. The more they notice, the harder you become to forget. The person you love listened once again. But this time something was different. There was no effort to change the subject. No attempt to move the conversation elsewhere. No desire to avoid what was being said. Instead, they listened quietly, thoughtfully, almost as if they already knew there was truth hidden inside those words. And perhaps that is the biggest sign of all, because when someone stops resisting a truth, it often means that truth has already begun settling inside their heart. What happens next remains unwritten. Much is still hidden. Much remains unspoken. But the silence is changing. The questions are growing louder. The memories are becoming clearer. And somewhere beneath all of it, something important continues moving closer to the surface. Watch carefully, stay patient, because what comes after this may carry more meaning than anything spoken before. And when that moment finally arrives, many things that once seemed confusing may suddenly become impossible to misunderstand. No interruption, no attempt to change the subject, only attention, complete attention. Stay until the end, because the next part explains why this conversation has become impossible to forget. During the discussion, a very small memory was mentioned, something almost lost to time, something that could have easily been overlooked, yet now it returned carrying unexpected significance. It was a moment when you reacted with genuine honesty, while everyone around you expected something completely different. At the time it seemed simple, nothing dramatic, nothing designed to stand out. Yet both friends now see that moment as important proof of who you truly are. One of them said that moment revealed how your heart speaks honestly even when your words are few. The other replied, "Honesty like that builds trust without ever demanding attention." Those words changed the atmosphere immediately. Suddenly your image became stronger inside the conversation than ever before. The person you love remembered that exact moment without hesitation. The memory returned with remarkable clarity. Every detail felt close again. Every feeling felt familiar. And as that memory resurfaced, silence appeared once more. Not uncomfortable silence, not empty silence. The kind of silence that happens when something meaningful touches a place inside the heart that words cannot easily reach. Stay with me because something important is unfolding. After that pause, one friend asked a question that changed everything. Why does every conversation about this person become deeper than expected? Why does every discussion somehow move beyond ordinary explanations? No answer came quickly. Some answers reveal too much. Some truths cannot be spoken without exposing emotions that have remained hidden for a long time. The person you love looked thoughtful, almost protective of something personal. And while both friends watched carefully, they already understood one thing. Your name had entered a space where emotions could no longer pretend to be neutral. One friend believes you represent a kind of peace that is difficult to find in today's world. The other believes that once someone truly experiences that peace, it becomes nearly impossible to forget. And now those two opinions exist together inside the same heart, creating thoughts that grow stronger with each passing day. Stay until the end, because something hidden is beginning to move beneath the surface. There was another unexpected detail. Recently, someone else spoke positively about you during a completely different conversation. No one planned for it. No one expected it. Yet the reaction appeared immediately. Not dramatic, not loud, not obvious to everyone, but impossible to miss if someone was paying attention. Focus sharpened. Listening became deeper. Even the smallest compliment connected to you suddenly seemed more important than it should have been. That was when one friend smiled quietly and said something simple but powerful. Reactions never lie. Those words remained hanging in the air long after they were spoken, because reactions often reveal what words try hard to conceal. The person you love heard that statement and became even quieter. Deep down they understood that silence itself had become noticeable evidence. Stay until the end because the next part changes everything. One friend then shared a thought that carried unusual weight. They said some people enter a person's life gently, almost unnoticed, but later become impossible to replace in thought. The statement was about you without directly using your name. The second friend added that some names begin softly, but eventually carry emotional significance that surprises everyone involved. Once again, your name remained at the center of everything. The person you love did not argue. They did not dismiss it. They did not change the topic. Instead, there was a long pause, followed by a slow breath. The kind of breath people take when truth feels very close, and avoiding it becomes increasingly difficult. Stay with me, because this is where everything becomes even more intense. The reason those two opinions continue growing is surprisingly simple. Every new memory connected to you confirms something they already suspect. Your kindness is remembered. Your patience is remembered. Your patience is remembered. Your sincerity is remembered. Even moments where you barely spoke remain clear in people's minds. Small interactions stay alive long after they happen. Quiet moments become unforgettable. And now one of those friends believes an important conversation is approaching. A conversation where your name will no longer be discussed only as an idea, but as someone whose place has become too meaningful to overlook. That possibility has already started changing how the person you love sees everything connected to you. Because once two outside voices point toward the same truth from different directions, pretending nothing is happening becomes harder every day. Stay until the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The most surprising part is that one friend no longer speaks with uncertainty at all. Their confidence has become complete. They believe whatever is growing around your name is not temporary. It is not passing. It is not fading. The second friend still chooses words carefully, but even that caution now carries quiet admiration. And somewhere between certainty and caution, the person you love is beginning to understand something important. Your presence has already left a deeper mark than anyone expected. That is why the silence keeps returning. That is why your name continues appearing again and again. And that is why the next chapter may finally carry the answer everyone has been circling around, without fully speaking aloud. Then a moment arrived that nobody truly expected. The discussion about you returned once again, but this time it felt different. Quieter on the surface, much deeper underneath. It was no longer simply two people sharing opinions. It felt more like a realization taking shape, as though both friends had reached a point where ignoring what your name continues to stir was no longer possible. Stay until the end because something big is waiting for you.